This is Kyle Madson with your top stories on Sports 1140. There it is. The Raiders and Niners both got wins yesterday. The Raiders beat the Steelers 24-21, while the 49ers beat the Broncos 20-14. Both of those games came at home for each of those teams. Tight end George Kittle for the 49ers had 210 receiving yards in their win. Your Sacramento Kings are back at it again tonight in Chicago to wrap up their 4-game road trip. Sports 1140's coverage begins with game night at 3:30, Kings live at 4:30, and then tip-off is set for 5 o'clock. In the Baseball Hall of Fame, we'll have 2 new members. Former White Sox DH Harold Baines and Cardinals closer Lee Smith were both announced as Hall of Famers on Sunday. It is 8:02. Time to put your lights up. If you haven't, Squeaky Clean can hang. Visit squeakyclean.com. Those are your top stories. Now time for the third hour of the drive on Sports 1140 KHTK.
Rise and shine, sleepyhead.
I'm not letting you go to work today.
Wait, what? Everybody, listen up.
Welcome to The Drive.
Morning. You're gonna talk.
Get on the phone at 339-1140.
Pretty awesome, huh?
Jump in on our text line at 441140.
Everyone is talking about it. You must know that.
The Drive starts now.
Coming up tomorrow on the program, Matt Barrows makes his regular Tuesday appearance at 8:05 from The Athletic. We'll talk about the 49ers. And then we'll continue. It'll be a nice hour for Niner fans. Eric Armstead, local cat made good. Very involved sports family here with his dad, Gus. And the entire family really makes an impact. He'll join us at 8:35. Coming up later this segment, we'll talk Kings. The Warriors were just named Sports Illustrated's Sports Person of the Year. We're going to have to speak on that. I don't want to get into it right now because the segment will get away from us. Just honestly, initial reaction to that, to the Warriors being named Sports Illustrated Sports Person of the Year. That about sums it up from me.
We're talking basketball.
That's that Stephen A. from the weekend, isn't it? That's fantastic. Yeah, I'll need that too, please. I put out a poll yesterday. Hey now. And I asked Raider fan.
Hey so did Frank Gore.
Yeah, he sure did.
Hey now.
I asked Raider fan, with the Niners winning, who are you rooting for in this game, the Raiders or the Steelers? Obviously, we're talking draft position versus a victory. A lot of votes here. 63% of respondents said they were rooting for which team, Kyle?
The Raiders.
The Raiders. 63% said Raiders. 37% responded Steelers. Now, of course, that's unscientific. It's just my Twitter, and other fans of other teams could have gotten involved. Good win for the Raiders, though, and they had plenty of chances to roll over. They started out the game fantastic, just marching down the field.
Here comes your third down and goal. Carr is up underneath center. Here's Martin, jumps up, touchdown Raiders! Got the ball over the goal line.
That was the muscle hamster, as I like to call him, and he hates to be called, Doug Martin. James Conner out for the game. Ridley with a little 2-yard run for Pittsburgh.
First and goal at the 2-yard line. The jumbo package is in, and so is Roselle Nix. And it's Ridley getting the call. He knifes into the end zone. Stephen Ridley with his first rushing touchdown of the year, and the Steelers are in position to knock things up.
We heard the announcer say the jumbo package was in, but again, we're not talking about Frank Gore and the Miami Dolphins here. We're trying to talk about the Raiders and Steelers. Derek Carr fumbled, and Pittsburgh had some momentum.
3rd and 19, Carr in the shotgun. He's back. He dances around. He throws it down the field, and the ball slipped out. Diving for it at the 15-yard line. Mike Hilton apparently has come up with it. Have they ruled a fumble? It is Steelers ball.
Juju Smith-Schuster is not a human being. He is an alien from the planet Amazing Catchville. And did you see that catch?
No.
Please go watch it today. It was a high throw from Ben Roethlisberger, which, by the way, he should probably call out his receivers again for, not corralling his terrible throws. Smith-Schuster tips the ball, comes down, catches the ball, and the footwork to stay within bounds and the concentration in itself in the back of the end zone was absolutely insane. They had to review it, but it was, in fact, by the tips of his toes, literally a catch.
Bunch tight left. Ben empty set. 2nd and goal at the 1. Steelers knocking at the door, and the towel is twirling in Oakland. Quick pop over the middle. Catching it is Juju. He gets the check for the touchdown. Juju Smith-Schuster.
You just watched it?
Yeah, I just watched it. That's unreal body control.
Kyle's cold hard facts coming up at 8:35, and he's gonna do a little switch here, a little twist on it, where he's gonna present some facts. Do you have anything about Juju Smith-Schuster? Because I don't want to steal that.
No, I only have it's gonna be like one or two things that I throw out and we debate.
So let me present a Coors Light cold hard fact to you.
Ooh.
Juju Smith-Schuster is better right now than Antonio Brown. No,
Not ready for that.
Okay.
Is Juju Smith-Schuster right now better than Antonio Brown was at this point in his career? Way better. But AB is remarkable. And I know Juju's great too. He's my favorite non-49er in the league. Second favorite.
He's 22. That's what's scary.
And just turned 22.
I can hear Raider fan getting very angry because we're talking more about the Steelers than the Raiders. We'll get back to it. Derek Carr, down
excellent yesterday.
Late in this game, was absolutely excellent. He finds Derek Carrier.
Derek Carr back into the gun, backs out, steps up, fire, touchdown Raiders! Carrier! He did go to one of his tight ends, no doubt about it. Yeah, baby! And John Gruden with a big smile on the sideline.
Derek Carr to Derek Carrier. Interesting stat. That was the first Derek to Derek touchdown since 2011 when Derek Anderson hit a 7-yard pass for the Cleveland Browns to Derek Smith versus the Patriots. How about that?
Wow.
Totally made that up, but I'll bet it might be true. I don't even know if Derek Smith was ever a receiver.
He was definitely a linebacker for the 49ers.
Probably, yes. Also a basketball player. But
you're the worst.
I would like to see stats on Derek.
It's actually pronounced Derek Carrier, but
excuse me, my fault.
It's not.
Is it possible? By the way, is it possible that Derek Carr to Derek Carrier connection is the first time in NFL history that the first 9 letters of the first and last name of the quarterback and receiver are the exact same? 9 Derek Carr, Derek Carrier. That's 9 letters. I'll bet you I'm safe. I feel safe in saying that's correct. First time in NFL history, quarterback receiver matched the same 9 first letters. Don't roll your eyes at me, dad joke. Don't do that. You. So then it's set up. Steelers have an opportunity to win the game, Kyle, with a little chippy field goal. But what they didn't
so we had Derek Carr topping off an excellent day with his second touchdown pass.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in any other of the last since Vernon Davis in maybe 2013, Jared Cook would be the best tight end in the Bay Area by a wide margin.
Sure, he's having a great year.
And it just so happens that there's a slightly better tight end across the Bay, but the point there being Jared Cook is excellent. And when they lean on him in the passing game, they are a much better team.
I completely agree. He's having a fantastic year.
Yeah, he's very, very excellent for them.
Chris Boswell with the opportunity to win it for the Steelers.
Here is Boswell to tie it and send us to overtime. This will be a 40-yarder. He's missed a 37-yarder earlier today. Snap, hold, he slips. The Raiders win it. The Raiders win it.
Bad officiating once again. Because the Raiders should have been called for 12 men on the field. That 12th man, of course, being the Oakland Coliseum.
Oh, snap.
How about that?
Oh, snap.
How about that? Who says there's not a home field advantage there?
But credit the Raiders defense and something that's gone a little bit overlooked. There was a real shot for Juju Smith-Schuster.
By the way, everybody stop freaking out. I'm sorry, to tie the game, not to win the game. Excuse me. Move on.
To get to Juju Smith-Schuster on that hook and lateral was huge. I mean, that was the game. When he took off down the sideline, I thought he was gone.
Absolutely.
But I think it was Carl Joseph was the one who came over and eventually pushed him out of bounds. But that turned out to be a huge play. And I said it at the time, we were sitting there watching it. It's like, that's huge because now they can only tie it. He was going to go in and win it, and then they didn't even get a chance to tie it. Enormous. And the fact, the bigger deal for me, for the Raiders here is okay, yeah, he missed a field goal, and that's awesome, and they won. But the Steelers had stuff to play for.
Yes, they did.
This is easily a game the Raiders could have laid down and let
they were pissed off. I remember we talked about that last week.
Yes, this is a game the Raiders could have gone in, laid down, and let the Steelers win by 4 touchdowns. But they didn't. They came back, they battled back and scored late. You had guys hustling on defense to make sure Schuster didn't get in the end zone. Or Smith-Schuster, I guess, didn't get in the end zone. And they were rewarded for it. And that's a for a 2-3-10 team, that's a big deal.
Well, your point is well made. And let's go even further there. This is the second straight week where they've showed a lot of heart, and a lot of passion in they lost to the Chiefs, but they made that a game, and the Chiefs were double-digit favorites, and the Raiders were right at a 7-point loss with 40-33.
Well, we saw them come back against the Cardinals too.
Absolutely.
And that, like I said, that is a big deal because John Gruden's there for 10 years, and we were wondering after that loss to the 49ers if the Raiders had quit on him. And had he lost that locker room 9 games into his tenure, it's very clear now that he hasn't, and that is huge for this team going forward.
We'll talk to Scott Bair of NBC Sports, who covers the Raiders Wednesday at 8:05. We'll talk to him about the reports over the weekend. No surprise that Reggie McKenzie's gone, and that's not a surprise. Also, I saw an anecdote. I didn't know if it was directly from Scott or he was relaying a tweet that people in the press box were able to they overheard a security guy on a walkie-talkie at the Coliseum saying, there are 2 dead mice in the Coke machine. We're going to need somebody. Yeah. That's a real thing. I'm not making a bit. I'm not doing a bit. Well, I'll ask Scott about 2 dead mice in a Coke machine.
That's so gross.
All right, well, congratulations to the Raiders and the 49ers. Good wins, both. Now, again, if you're a draft position guy, there's an argument there. But as somebody just said, and this is the best explanation I've seen so far, somebody said, hey, listen, this might have been the last full house at the Coliseum, and against a rival to get a win like that will be a lasting memory for a lot of us Oakland Raider fans. That draft pick is for the Las Vegas Raiders. Awesome to see him win because it'll probably be empty or near empty on Christmas Eve. I don't know about that last sentence, but that's a very, in both cases we talked about the extracurriculars, and you have to be fair to Raider fan here with the 49ers. An opportunity to win one for Tony York passing away, very emotional time for the 49ers, and an emotional time for Raider fans too as the season winds down. And they're going to have they're going to have another year there, but this might be the biggest win they have between this year and next year. And that draft pick is going to really be coming to fruition for the Las Vegas Raiders more than the Oakland Raiders.
Well, and here's another counter for that. The Raiders won yesterday, and they are still in position for a top 3 pick. It's not like they won and tumbled down to the top 10,
right? Like
to number 8 or 9. So they're still in position for a top 3, and they have 3 first-round picks next year. That's it. That's a ton of draft capital to move up and down the board as they see fit. They have 3 shots at getting a first-round talent, and that should make up for not getting the number 1 overall pick, especially if they still get a top 3 guy.
Right. They're fine.
They're totally fine, and it's an exciting win. And as a fan, we talked about this a lot last year with the Kings. I personally can't actively root for my favorite team to lose, even though I know I am all aboard the losing benefits them long term. There's zero chance the team makes the playoffs this season, so now we're looking next season and beyond. But I can't actively root for but when they lose, it's like, okay, cool. Silver lining is this happened.
Sure. Our boy, John, to close out this football segment, can you really say, this is my John voice, by the way, can you really say Kittle is better than Cook? All guys standing in a line and you're picking teams. No way you personally pick Kittle over Cook. Yeah, if I have their stats in front of me, I do. Also considering the quarterbacks have been thrown to each guy. I mean, no offense to Cook.
What is that guy talking about?
He's saying that when you said George Kittle, any other year Cook would be the best tight end, but George Kittle is better.
Yeah.
He's trying to say that, I don't know, I guess that's like a weird attempt at the eye test.
Yeah, eye test nails it too.
Yeah, I don't.
That's a weird Homer thing. That's fine. He wants to be a Homer Raider fan. That's okay.
You should see him with your A's, dude. Which, by the way, congratulations to the Oakland A's for winning the Heisman Trophy.
Heisman trophies are the new market inefficiency.
So good for Kyler Murray, and that's 2 years in a row. Oklahoma, Baker and Kyler have won the Heisman.
There are whispers now coming out about NFL executives saying that Kyler Murray is a first-round pick. And that is a problem for the A's. That's where things become...
Playing baseball, dude.
I hope so.
It'd be stupid not to.
I agree.
Let's move on to the Sacramento Kings. They take on Chicago tonight.
Talking basketball.
Yes, we are, Stephen A. We went over the weekend earlier. Kings, Bulls tonight, 5 o'clock, 4:30 pregame on the Sporty 1140 right here. So, Kyle, couple things. Jim Boylan is not going over that great in Chicago. They lost by 56 points to the Celtics. What was that?
Your computer?
That was me?
Yeah. Do you know how hard it is to lose by 56 points? I went and looked. The Celtics could have stopped scoring, I believe it was with 6:28 left.
I think Mannix put that out too, or somebody. I saw that on Twitter, and I think you're right. It was 6 minutes and something in the third. They could have stopped scoring,
and they still would have won. You saw that on Twitter because I put it there.
Yeah, but it wasn't you. No, but you retweeted.
I tweeted that.
You retweeted somebody.
No, I tweeted that.
You came up with that?
Yeah,
no,
I just looked at the play-by-play.
I saw it somewhere else too, though.
Yeah,
I swear I did.
Was
it Ravel? Was it Mannix?
That sounds like a Ravel tweet. That's a dweeby Ravel tweet.
Sacramento favored in this one by 2.5. Now, I did not have a good weekend. If I did participate in wagering, I was slightly under 500. But 1-0 on Kings games. Kings have been covering the spread quite a bit this year. Favored by 2.5 against the Bulls team that lost by 56 to Boston.
I honestly, I might feel differently if maybe the Kings were on a back-to-back or something.
Yeah.
But do you want me to make it so you can't hear me when I say this?
Oh, are you going to jinx them?
Yeah.
Yeah, can we just...
I'm going to jinx them in your eyes. I'm going to say what I actually think for people that want to hear it. Which is...
Can I just say that every time we do this, the Kings end up losing? Every time we do this, we did this. Remember Utah without Donovan Mitchell coming in after Sacramento beat them at home, beat them in Utah, and then Utah came in and they were like 3.5-point favorites. And we went, what is that? We just beat them in Utah with Donovan Mitchell. Now they don't have Donovan Mitchell. Well, I did.
And Utah without Donovan Mitchell is a lot better than the Bulls, who are skipping practice on their interim head coach, who's been a coach for less than a week.
So the next day, Jim Boylan wants to run a practice after that 56-point loss.
Understandable.
The players all get a text thread together, which I would just kill to have that text thread. They start a text thread, and there were ideas being thrown around like, we're all just going to gather at one guy's house, not show up at all for practice, and just wait until our phones start ringing off the hook. Another option floated was, again, according to reports, was walking as one unit, Frank Gore, into practice and then turning around and immediately walking out without practicing. But then again, according to reports, Lauri Markkanen and Robin Lopez said, hey, listen, this isn't going to look good on us. This isn't going to accomplish anything. This isn't going to be professional. We need to go. So they go in there, and instead of practicing, they have a players-only meeting. And then following the players-only meeting, the coaches roll in, and they have a coaches and players meeting. And when you see quotes, and I'm paraphrasing here, but putting together quotes from several different players, when you see quotes like, it was very direct and we were really honest with each other, that means everyone was screaming at each other and calling them bad names.
Yes.
When you see things like that, that's what that means. But they had the meeting.
I actually have some of the tape from that meeting on me, yeah.
Love to hear it.
We're talking basketball.
That's what they said.
Yeah.
And a lot more. Jim Boylan's playing hard ass, and apparently with Fred Hoiberg, he was the bad cop. Hoiberg was the good cop. Now it's all bad cop, and it's not going over well with some of those players. Stop, Kyle. You're trying to find you going bad cop, Jim Boylan, like Boyle cop?
No.
Boyd cop?
I was thinking Boyberg. Boylan.
So, one of two things is going to happen tonight, in my opinion, Kyle, and I don't think there's going to be much in the middle. Either A, Kings are going to go in there and do what they should do, which is blow them out. That's what should happen. Or B,
that's where my money would be.
The Bulls get fired up, rally around each other, and go out and they beat the Kings. I don't think there's any middle ground.
Yeah, like they just kind of play like a close contest.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
It's going to be, I'm fascinated to watch the Bulls bench tonight. Like watching the Washington Wizards right now is so interesting because they're playing well and they're winning, but it's really clear that like none of those guys like each other.
Right.
And it's such an awkward viewing experience. I really want to see what the Bulls bench is like tonight.
Well, hopefully they'll be playing a lot because the Kings will be up 40. This is, again, a game that I'm very comfortable saying the Kings should win. And it's been a long time since we've said something like the Kings should win on the road.
We've said it 3 times on this road trip.
Like I said, it's been a long time. If you're a mosquito or a housefly who don't live a lot,
nice,
Kyle,
dude.
Okay. See that recovery? We'll have that action. 4:30 pregame. 5:30 tip right here on the Sporty 1140. One more quick note before we go to break. Want to tell you that your phone calls at 339-1140 and all guests come to you via the Fire Wings hotline. It's 21 different flavors to choose from. Hey, firewings.com, Kyle. Just wing it. When it comes to strength of schedule, just wanted to remind you, the Kings had been up as high as number 2. They are now back to the 5th toughest schedule in the NBA, behind only Portland, Milwaukee, Phoenix, and Utah is the new number 1. That, of course, the Kings will drop out of that. But here's the thing. After tonight's game, they're still going to be a top 10 toughest scheduled team coming back home, and that's only going to get crazier. By the end of the month, they'll probably have the toughest schedule in the NBA.
Yeah.
By the end of December, they will probably have played the toughest schedule in the NBA, and they're 13-12. Cold Hard Facts, brought to you by Coors Light, coming up in just a moment. Kevin Mastodon with something to say before we go to break.
Yeah, it's time to call your local Geico agent.
Who's
Our
that?
guy, Vince Harris.
Yeah.
At 916-923-5050. That's 916-923-5050.
Go see our guy Vince now.
Vince Harris.
Cold Hard Facts, brought to you by Coors Light. Next, right here on Sports 1140 KHTK.
This is Kyle Madson with your top stories on Sports 1140. Hey, the Raiders and Niners both won yesterday. The Raiders downed the Steelers 24-21, while San Francisco beat the Broncos 20-14. Tight end George Kittle had 210 receiving yards for San Francisco. Your Sacramento Kings are back at it again tonight in Chicago against a Bulls team that fell to the Celtics over the weekend by 56 points. Our coverage on Sports 1140 kicks off with game night at 3:30. Kings Live is at 4:30. Tip-off is set for 5 o'clock. At the Baseball Hall of Fame, we'll have 2 new members. It was announced yesterday that former White Sox DH Harold Baines, who also spent some time with the A's in the early 90s, and Cardinals closer Lee Smith were both announced as the newest members of the Hall of Fame. It's 8:31. Time for Squeaky Clean to clean your gutters. Visit squeakyclean.com SportsLife.com. Those are your top stories. Now back to the drive on Sports 1140 KHTK.
Here we go. The drive continues now.
Dude. Can we re-rack that? Yeah, that's you cannot come back from the 8:30 break without that. That's just a tradition. It's almost a superstition. Somebody didn't have the sound up. Might have been Kyle, might have been me. We take losses as a team here, Kyle.
Here we go. The drive continues now.
There we go. I might have been a little early on the meow, too.
You were.
Kyle's Cold Hard Facts brought to you by Coors Light coming up in a second. Kyle, I got a cold hard fact for you before we get started.
Yeah, drop that fact on me.
In the first 8 games of the season, Willie Cauley-Stein, and I will give credit for this in just a second, Willie Cauley-Stein averaged 17.4 points, a steal, 9 boards, over 2.5 assists, and shot 54% from the free throw line. Not great, but important to remember, 54.3 from the stripe. In his last 17 games, Willie Cauley-Stein, 12.6 points, 7.8 boards, 2 assists, half a block, 42% from the line. This is the Willie we were all afraid would show up. Still very early in the season.
I mean, it's early-ish in the season.
Yeah. But it's the consistency. And it's why I've said at the beginning of the year, during the year, and still, I have a hard time believing Willie's going to be here next year unless it's a situation where, again, if they can give him a qualifying offer, they just look around to see if anybody's going to try to take him. If Willie wants to come back next year at $10 million a year, well, I think he might. I could see that. If Willie wants, which I'm sure he will, 14, 15, 16, 18, 20 million a year.
That's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot for a guy who's not very consistent. King's-sistent. King's-sistent.
You know what? Just for that, Kyle, by the way, credit to Tony from Sacktown Royalty for coming up with all those stats. I mean, he probably got it from somewhere, but also, Kyle, Nick Young is signed with the Denver Nuggets.
Oh, snap. Of course he did.
I thought you'd love that. Of course he did. Your guy, Nick Young.
In Denver. Naturally.
Kyle's Cold Hard Fact time. Here we go.
It's time for the Coors Light Cold Hard Fact of the Day. Here's Kyle Madson.
So I want to do it a little differently today.
Okay.
I'm going to present something that I believe is a cold hard fact.
Yeah.
And you can either accept it as a cold hard fact or tell me why it is a warm, soft fiction.
Have you cleared this with the program director?
No.
Jason, are you cool with that?
Trucky ducky quack quack.
Okay. What was that, Jason?
Trucky ducky quack quack.
I think that's a yes.
That is definitely a yes. Go ahead.
So my cold hard fact.
Cold Hard Fact brought to you by Coors Light.
Is that the NFC playoff picture is set. I don't think any of the current 6 NFC playoff teams are going to miss the playoffs.
Let's delve a little deeper in your alleged cold hard fact. So in the NFC currently, you've got the Saints and Rams, which have clinched. They are in the playoffs, followed by the Bears, the Cowboys, the Seahawks, the Vikings. On the outside looking in, you have the Panthers, Eagles, and Redskins at 6 and 7.
Because to me, Philly's done.
Yeah, Philly's not winning the NFC East. We talked about that last week. They had to have this game in Dallas. Dallas now 2-0 on them for the year, and Dallas with a much easier schedule. I agree with you. Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Is there any chance that 8-7-1 gets an NFC wild card?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. So that's the Packers. The Redskins
Washington's done.
are absolutely done. But I see why they signed Mark Sanchez.
Yeah, he knows the heck out of that offense.
Really, the only team I think has a possible, especially if we think Minnesota's going to lose tonight,
Right.
would be the Panthers. But
The Panthers play the Saints twice.
I was just going to say the Panthers go home Saints at Saints with the Falcons in the middle at home. That'll probably be a win, even if the Panthers go 2-1 in this situation. Even if they go 2-1.
The Eagles are at Rams, home Texans, at Washington to end the year. I think they go 1-2.
Yeah, if the Panthers go 2-1, they're 8-8. Yeah, I'm going to say that's a cold hard fact, Kyle. The NFC playoff teams, that is, are set. By the way, the two hottest teams in the NFC, the Cowboys and the Seahawks, with a combined 8-game winning streak. Not that far off, the Cowboys and 49ers with a combined 6-game winning streak.
I'm tempted to say that the AFC playoff picture is also set, but I'm not quite there yet.
Chiefs are in. Chargers. By the way, even with last night's loss, how about LA being 21-5 in the NFL this year? How about the fact that the Chargers
Still can't draw any fans?
The Chargers could end up with the second best record in the AFC. In fact, it looks very good that they could and not win their division.
That's brutal.
Isn't that brutal?
That's really tough.
They are 10-3. They are one game behind the Chiefs.
And they're going to go on the road.
They're going
to
go
playoffs.
on the road.
Brutal.
How dirty is that? That's just dirty.
It happens sometimes, though, man. The Saints had to go on the road to a 7-9 team in the playoffs.
You know, we had the Rams and Bears last weekend. We had
Rams and Bears this weekend.
No, I'm saying the weekend that just passed.
Got it.
Sorry.
Okay.
The weekend before, who was it? We had a marquee game there too. Didn't we? Because we had the Rams and Chiefs 3 weekends ago, whatever you want to call it. We had a really good game the weekend. But either way, my point is this weekend, the Chargers going to Arrowhead and play the Chiefs.
It's going to be a good game.
It's going to be a hell of a game. And that game is likely. Well, how does that work? The Chiefs beat the Chargers in game 1 of the season, 38-28 in LA. Mm-hmm. Chargers beat the Chiefs in Arrowhead, so they're 1-1 head-to-head. What does it go to, conference?
I think divisional record.
Divisional record?
Then after that, I think it's conference.
Interesting.
The AFC North is fascinating, too, because all of a sudden, you're looking at a 7-5-1 Steelers team being chased by a 7-6 Baltimore team that is playing very well right now. That should have beat Kansas City in Kansas City yesterday.
Well, you have the Steelers at 7-5-1, currently in the 5 spot. As you said, the Ravens.
They're in the 4 spot.
What did I say? 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, hold on a second. In the 4, what do you mean by the 4 spot? You got the Chiefs, Chargers, Patriots, and Texans. Or are you going by like division?
I'm seeding.
I got you. I'm sorry. I was talking about records. Okay,
okay.
We're on the same page. You have the Ravens, Colts, Dolphins, and Titans all at 7-6. That's interesting. All at 7-6. So that's where you're going to get into divisions.
Yeah.
You're going to get some goofy stuff. I have a hard time saying I do not think the AFC playoff.
No, it's going to be wacky down to the end. But if everything goes how I think it's going to go in the NFC playoff picture I think is set.
I think so. I think you're right. There'd have to be some weird stuff happening.
So let's take a quick look ahead then. So that means Rams and Saints are off. They're on buys. Yep. Also, sneaky thing, the Saints are currently ahead of the Rams. They have that head-to-head tiebreaker. So the Rams would have to go to New Orleans in an NFC title game where they've already lost.
That's very interesting.
But our first-round matchups, and I'm all the way in for this, you have Vikings at Bears.
Love it.
And Seahawks at Cowboys.
Oh,
that's your wild card.
That's a fantastic wild card weekend.
I'm all the way. There's no scud games there. In the AFC, if everything shakes out, you have Baltimore at Houston. I'm out on that one.
Because you hate the Texans.
I just don't think that would be that fun of a game.
I agree with you. It'd be very boring.
And then Steelers home for the Chargers. So a rematch of that Sunday night.
That's fantastic.
That would be fun.
And so stupid.
I want the playoffs to stay this way because I think this would be really fun. The only thing that might be better is if you get the Colts into the playoffs, if they sneak in and they face their AFC South rival Texans in Houston to start the playoffs.
How about the Chargers having the second best record in the AFC, going into Pittsburgh and beating the Steelers in their one matchup, and then having to go back and face the Steelers on the road in the playoffs, and the Steelers have a worse record than they do.
Yeah.
That's janky.
That's weird.
Also, how about the Niners, Raiders, Jets, and Giants and Lions all winning yesterday? That's a little silly in the draft world. Nobody got the memo except the Cardinals.
The Niners might have knocked the Broncos all the way out of the playoffs because the Broncos finish home Browns, at Raiders, home Chargers. The Broncos had a real shot to make the playoffs if they beat the Niners yesterday.
Yeah. Well, sorry, Broncos.
Sorry about it.
We'll take a break. When we come back, we have what's on tap. Maybe we'll get to this Warriors thing. And there's a couple of boxing stories over the weekend. One in particular I have my eye on. But before we go to break.
I also watched the UFC if you want to talk about that.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Kyle watched the UFC. Yes, sir.
I just want to let you know that it's time to call your local Geico agent. You know his name?
I believe his name is Vince Harris.
Yeah, last name ever, first name greatest. You can call him at 916-923-5050. That's 916-923-5050. Get yourself some insurance.
I have Vince Harris on the phone right now. You want to hear him say hi?
Yeah.
Because
he's a GOAT.
Because that's a GOAT. Greatest of all time. Take a break. When we come back, what's on tap? Right here on Sports 1140. Thanks, Vince. KHTK. What's on tap? Brought to you by. Well, Kyle.
Coffee stirrers.
I think we've actually done that before, haven't we?
Well, they're recurring. They were so happy with our spot that they wanted more.
Coffee stirrers.
We need coffee creamer.
Remember? Yeah, we did coffee creamer. You're right. Coffee stirrers. Remember when you had to use your pinky? Ow.
Yeah.
Right?
You did an infomercial where the person does a dramatic pull the pinky.
Oh. Coffee stirrers. Get yours today.
Good read.
Thank you.
You hit all the talking points.
Yeah, I did. Hit them all. Kings finish out their 4-game road trip in Chicago against the Bulls. Again, lost by 56 on, what was it, Saturday?
That's impressive.
It really is. Look, I'm not even mad. He ate the whole wheel of cheese. Good job, Baxter. Well, that's happening.
Pooped in the refrigerator.
Right. So there you go. That's coming up tonight. We will have all your coverage, 4:30 pre, 5 o'clock tip, right here on the Sporty 1140. Also, almost simultaneously, Monday Night Football, Vikings and the Seattle Seahawks. That is up in Washington. That will be a fun, should be a very fun game with the NFC playoff implications. Kyle?
Yeah.
Sports Illustrated has named the Golden State Warriors their sports person of the year.
They've done it. They finally are getting some recognition.
That's such a cop-out, first off. You name a team.
Yeah, that's lame.
And then it's like, this is the year? Like, there wasn't...
Yeah, why this is... There
wasn't some...
Like, didn't LeBron James open, like, a school?
Thank you. Yes, he did, by the way, to answer your question.
We can't get it to LeBron. We can't get it to...
There's not somebody who overcame, like, a debilitating something. There's not somebody that had horrific whatever. They overcame a meningitis fear and you know,
it was like
the Cavs.
It was like Sports Illustrated forgot they had to do a sports person of the year. And Bill, the guy in charge of that, the guy in charge of
right, Bill,
the sports picker,
guy.
Sports person picker.
Yeah.
They were like, all right, big meeting. Bill, who's the sports person of the year? And Bill went,
Bill made.
No, I've been so wrapped up. I just had my first kid, and
Bill made the mistake of vaping right before the meeting.
What?
What?
Oh, man.
How about the Warriors?
The Warriors, man.
They're good. Remember? I mean,
And then he went on this whole because he felt like he really had to sell it. Like they were just going to be like, okay, cool, it's the Warriors. He felt he really had to sell it, so he went on this whole like indignant rant about it.
Are they even the sports team of the year in America? I mean, were they better than the Eagles? Didn't make the playoffs the year before and beat the Patriots?
Does that count because it was for the previous season?
But it happened in 2018.
Did it? Did it, though? Did it, though?
I mean, yeah, it was in February 2018.
Wasn't.
Okay, well, there's a conspiracy. And speaking of, not even my favorite Warriors story yet. Because apparently, and I did not know this, Vince Carter and Ken Bazemore have a podcast called Winging It. Okay. Steph Curry and Andre Iguodala were guests on the program. Steph Curry, perhaps even unprompted, said, quote, "Hey, guys, we ever been to the moon?" To which they all responded, "No." To which Curry responded, "They're going to come get us. I don't think we've been to the moon either." I mean,
What's wrong? They're absolutely right.
there's like three...
There's a soundstage in New Mexico. Everybody knows that.
There's three recurring theories that I see. Three main ones. We didn't go to the moon. It was staged. There weren't dinosaurs. And the earth is flat. I spent at least 2 times last week on this very show talking about, as much as it hurts me, Steph Curry, great role model, super example, awesome guy.
Not a scientist.
Not a scientist. Stephen, Wardell. I'm going to use his real first name here.
Yeah, it's smart.
Do you know how many kids? There's probably no NBA player, nay, perhaps American athlete, that kids look up to and adore more than Stephen Curry.
That's probably correct.
So how many kids in their brand new Warriors gear here in Sacramento alone whose parents are terrible parents for buying them that? And if these parents in Sacramento are buying their kids Warrior gear, unless they're transplants and old school Warrior fans, obviously those parents' kids are going to look to other people outside the house to be role models because God knows their parents aren't because they buy them Warrior gear.
Right, of course.
So
that makes sense.
How many kids are being influenced now are going to go to school and be like, "Hey,
Steph Curry said
we didn't land on the moon. So did you know we didn't land on the moon? Steph Curry said it."
What are the odds that Steph is making fun of Kyrie Irving? And the whole like, hey, NBA players just say outrageous stuff and people latch onto it like this.
I hope that Steph comes out today and says LOL JK.
He's going to get asked about it for sure.
Yeah, a lot. Bros, and sisses.
I will be... Go ahead, sorry.
There were dinosaurs. There's actually fossils.
Yes.
The Earth...
Gym fossils.
The Earth is round. We've seen it from space, and nobody's falling off the Earth. Okay?
Not one death has happened from somebody falling off the side of the Earth, except for, like, Dane Cook.
And that was wanted. Here's how I also know we've been to the moon, okay? I love a good conspiracy. JFK is one of my favorite movies, and I've seen multiple moon conspiracy movies. I've seen the one where it's like, look, bro, the flag.
I'm a big fan of Ancient Aliens.
But here's the deal.
My favorite conspiracy.
The amount of people that would have to be involved to keep it a secret.
Right.
The amount of people that don't make a lot of money.
Right.
Who would get paid millions of dollars for
Millions.
And people go, hey, no, man, we were racing against the Soviet Russia and the Sputnik. We need to do so. We made it up. How come we've never been back?
They get money from the government on the side. That's how they get paid.
We flew a rover the size of a small Hyundai across the solar system and landed it on basically a quarter onto a moving object going thousands of miles per hour. I'm talking about Mars, y'all. We probably landed on the moon. Otherwise, Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin and the other guy, I always forget his name, they're just all lying. The other one is chemtrails.
Those are weird, dude.
Just so people understand, there are a lot of people out there, more than you think, that believe that, like, when you see a jet plane in the sky and you see the white smoke from behind it, they believe that the government is actually releasing toxins in the air that, like, have mind control and stuff.
Yeah. My buddy, when we were younger, was like, that's gas. That plane's going to crash. And I was like, no, it's not. That plane's fine. And then he, like, started crying.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, you know that's not normal. It was weird.
I'm going to say something here that might be a little controversial, but I'm going to use what we should never do in this case. I'm going to use a stereotype, Kyle. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Of all the people that I have known that either believe the world is not flat, dinosaurs didn't exist, chemtrails are real, or we didn't land on the moon, they all have one thing in common. 100% of them have one thing in common. They smoke a lot of weed. Oh, yeah. I have yet to meet someone that was like, hey, man, bro. Steph Curry, controversial. Eunice, not minus, not Yornus. Eunice does a tremendous job on this show each and every day. We appreciate her. Kyle's okay, and I suck. So tomorrow we'll be back at 6 a.m. Jim Rome is next. Enjoy the rest of your broadcast day right here on Sports 1140 KHTK. Bye-bye now.